Dear friends, welcome. I am Dr. Durbadal Datta, an English teacher and ELT counselor. Today, I will talk about Keats's famous ode to autumn. And this ode was written in September 1819 and later published in poems in 1820. This is the fact. But behind this ode, there is a very interesting episode. That is, I am reading a letter written on 21st September 1819 to J.H. Reynolds. It shows how many of the details in the poem were drawn from Keats's recent experience. I am reading. How beautiful the season is now. How fine the air. A temperate sharpness about it. So notice how beautiful the season is now, how fine the air, a temperate sharpness about it. All these aspects refer to autumn. Really, without joking, chaste weather, dire skies. I never liked stubble fields so much as now. Ah, better than the chilly green of the spring. Somehow a stubble plain looks warm. In the same way that some pictures look warm. This struck me too much in my Sunday's walk that I composed upon it. So you understand the background, how Keats liked the season, and upon this background he wrote the poem. I am directly going to the poem. It is different from other words, but it is considered one of the greatest odes by John Keats. Keats says, season of mist and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun. He calls autumn seasons of mists and mellow. Mellow might have two meanings, mild or mature, whatever it may be, mellow fruitfulness. So this is how the autumn is addressed by Keats. He calls autumn close bosom friend of the maturing sun. Now, bosom friend means a close, intimate friend. And maturing sun may have two meanings. One is getting older, and the other is bringing crops to ripeness. So in both the meanings are applicable here. And what is its function? Autumn conspiring with him, that is, conspiring means collaborating, working together. Conspiring with him means the sun, how to load and blaze, how to load and blaze the vine creepers with fruit, load with fruit the vines that around the thatchips run. Thatchips, uh, thatchips is the edge of thatched roofs. It is found এমনকি খড়ের চালের ঘরেও আমরা দেখি যে কিছুটা চাল বাড়ানো আছে সামনের দিকে, ওইটাকেই বলা হয় thatchips. To bend with apples the moss cottage trees. The trees are covered with moss, that's why moss cottage trees, and trees are bending with the load of apples. And this is the conspiracy. This is the collaborative effort of the maturing sun and autumn. To fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. Function of the autumn is to fill all fruits with ripeness to the core, ripeness to the center. The fruits ripen in autumn. It is a season of bounty and richness. To soil the gourd, now soil, sphito hawa, and plump the hazel shells. Hazelnuts are there. So plump rarely used as verb. Kids, however, made use of. It means also make swell out. With a sweet kernel, it fills and swells inside of the hazelnuts with sweet kernel. সুন্দর শাঁসে ভরে দেয়. To set budding more, even autumn does another thing. It sets budding more. More flowers can be seen. More flowers bloom. And still more. Aro. Later flowers for the bees. And it would be very good for the bees. They would find later flowers because they are honey seekers. Until they think they would go on sucking honey, collecting honey, until they, that is, the bees, think warm days will never cease. They will think that probably warm days will not cease, will not stop. Warm days will continue. For summer has overbrimmed their clammy cells. Summer has overbrimmed, overfilled their clammy is sticky, চটচটে, আঠালো, cells, that is beehives or honeycombs. So autumn, or in the form of summer, it has filled in the beehives. Okay. So you find in the first stanza, Keats addresses autumn, who collaborates with the sun in the process of bringing fruits and nuts to ripeness, and who also provides late flowering blooms so that the bees can continue to fill their brimming honeycombs. This is the essence of the first stanza. Mark one thing, in Ode to a Nightingale, each stanza contains 10 lines. Here you would get 11 lines. That is the peculiarity of this ode. Now I am coming to the second part or second stanza. Very, very powerful stanza. Who hath not seen thee amid thy store? So the poet begins with a rhetorical question, and it suggests that everyone has seen you. Everyone who goes to the field or everyone who enjoys autumn must have seen you. That is the intention. This is an old-fashioned form. Autumn is also conceived as goddess of crops. So sometimes where is autumn found? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad, one is going out, and that person may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor. Autumn may be seen sitting carelessly on a granary floor, farming in floor of the farmhouse. That is, autumn is a person, and maybe a harvester, maybe a woman, and what is happening? Her hair uplifted by the winnowing wind. Very, very interesting phrase, winnowing wind. Winnowing means the wind that is required for separating wheat from the chaff. ওর খোসা থেকে গমকে বা ফসলকে আলাদা করার জন্য যে বাতাসটা লাগে সেই বাতাস হচ্ছে উইনোয়িং উইন্ড। খুব সুন্দর শব্দ। So autumn is found as a harvester. Now come to the next lines. Or on a half-ribbed furrow, in a half-ribbed field, অর্ধেক কাটা হয়েছে এমন জায়গায় অটামকে কেমন ভাবে পাওয়া যাবে? Sound asleep, that is sleeping deeply. Autumn is sleeping deeply there, drowsed with the fume of poppies. Drowsed, once again drowsiness comes, that is a reaper feels drowsy because of the perfume of poppies. Poppy is the flower from which opium is produced. While thy hook spears the next swath, that is, the swath means the amount of standing crops that is to be cut later. So cutting half, think of the situation. The reaper is fast asleep because of the fragrance of the poppies, lulled by the poppies. So autumn is conceived as a harvester and now as a reaper. Now next, sometimes like a gleaner, autumn is conceived. Autumn is thought or seen as a gleaner. Thou dost keep steady. Who keeps steady? When thy laden head covered with load of crops across a brook while crossing a stream. So a gleaner is one who gathers or collects the remaining food after the reaper has harvested the field. So that is the role of a gleaner. Kuruni jala, pore jala kurui. And now the gleaner is returning home with a load on her head and she is crossing the brook. A beautiful picture, but a very interesting personification. Or autumn could be found elsewhere. Where? Or by a cider press with patient look. Cider press is the instrument in which fruits are crushed, fruits are pressed for extracting juice. And a person who is in care of the cider press must look at the side very, very minutely. So thou watchest. So the man engaged in watching the cider press might watch the first oozings hour by hours. So oozing that is dropping of juice from fruits. That is the person is watching. So this is all about the second stanza. So you have in the second stanza a fine example of personification. Autumn is personified as a harvester, then as a reaper, then as a gleaner, then as a person attending the cider press. So in the second stanza, we find beautiful pictures of autumn as persons. It opens with rhetorical question, no doubt, but we all have noticed autumn either resting in a grain field farm, asleep among the wheat, or carrying a load of corn across a stream, or watching the slow run of juice from the cider press, whatever it may be. In these four forms, in these four persons, autumn can be seen. Now, come to the third stanza. It is different from the first and second one. First is a description of richness of autumn, bounties of autumn. The second is personification of autumn. But what about the third? Third begins with a question: where are the songs of spring? So the question arises whether spring has its own songs, whether autumn has its own song. That's the question. Where are they? The poet is first upset with autumn because it has not much those songs. But later, the poet, now কবি এখন সামলে নিয়েছেন নিজেকে এই প্রশ্ন থেকে, কি বলছেন? Think not of them, তাদের কথা ভেবো না। Thou hast thy music too, you have your own music also, so don't worry. Oh autumn, don't worry for music. You may not have sweet birds to sing. We have found also in a sonnet, the poetry of earth will never stop or cease. There is a sonnet by Keats. That is also the same idea. Think not of them, thou hast thy music too. While bird clouds bloom the soft dying day. While bird clouds, that is when bloom means bloom to flower maybe. So bird clouds can bloom. The bird clouds actually are product of soft dying wind. So there are many interpretations of these lines. Dying day is blooming and not the clouds here. It may be one interpretation. Although clouds can become big like flowers, that can be another interpretation, or there may be something more. And touch the stubble plains with rosy hue, and the sky in the twilight, that is golden sky or rosy sky, whatever you can imagine, rosy hue, color like rose, it reddens stubble plains. Stubble, ফসল কাটা হলে যে নাড়া পড়ে থাকে জমিতে, সেটা হচ্ছে stubble. We all know. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn. gnat, once again a small insect. It mourns, it sings, and the choir is wailful means melancholy. Among the river shallows willow trees. So there are willow trees on the bank of the river, or the side of the river. The small gnats mourn among the river shallows, borne aloft, which is borne aloft means carried high. Sound could be heard. This is one of the songs of autumn. Or sinking as the light wind lifts or dies, and it sinks, it comes down when the wind lifts or dies, wind blows, and full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. From the hilly region, full-grown lambs, they bleat, they sing their own song. Hedge crickets sing. So there is Jhijipoka, and now with treble soft. Treble, a very interesting word. It is shrill. Once again, it is soft. So a shrill sound can also be soft. A case of oxymoron. The redbreast is the robin. Actually, robin sings in winter, but the poet imagines the robin whistles from a garden croft. Garden croft, a croft is an enclosed field or a garden. So, sitting on the branches of the tree in the garden, robin redbreast is singing. So, this is the bird of autumn. And gathering swallows twitter in the skies, as swallows are migratory bird, and this is the season that give place, that is bound to give place to winter. So the swallows will migrate to another place. So they are gathering on the river bank and they are twittering in the sky. So there is a passage of time in the, or the passing of the autumn in the third stanza. Let me sum up the third stanza. The songs of spring are dismissed here in favor of the distinctive music of autumn. Sunset brings the faint sounds of the clouds of insects, the bleat of lambs on hillside, and the characteristic notes of the robin and flocks of swallows. All these mark the song of autumn. So we have gone through the poem, and I think the text is now clear to you. Later I will discuss other points about the poem. If you think it necessary, go through the poem and just try to understand all the things that has been mentioned here, and notice the peculiarity of this particular ode. So this is, it starts with description of the bounties of autumn. In the second stanza, it passes to personification, and in the third stanza, we pass on to the passing of the autumn and songs of autumn. But there are some more points to be considered. We have come to know the background of the poem from the letter Keats wrote to Reynolds, And if we analyze, we'll find that the main theme of autumn is abundance, is ripeness, is harvest. It also hints impending winter, the end of the year and the end of his own life, maybe symbolically. The power and influence of nature, both on human life and on nature, is there. Uh, Keats expresses his admiration for autumn and for the great changes brought forth by autumn and brings its riches to the landscape. He also depicts many ways in which humanity is dependent on nature for its survival and enjoyment. There is passage of time and there is also acceptance of change. The consolation of beauty and music is also there. So Keats's lines celebrate the great beauty of nature and its abundance. Even they evoke a very uh, somber sensibility. He also finds solace in the sounds of nature, such as the songs of the birds, insects, and animals. He suggests that autumn has its own music and that can rival that of spring. Now, come to the literary devices we can find in autumn. There is apostrophe in the very beginning. The poem directly addresses the season of autumn as a personified figure, and in the very beginning, seasons of mist and mellow fruitfulness, the poet addresses. There is personification in the whole second stanza. Imagery, the poem uses vivid and sensory imagery to describe the sights, sounds, smells, and tastes of autumn. So we will find fruits, flowers, grains, birds, insects, and animals. The poem appeals to all the five senses and creates a rich picture of autumn in our mind, in reader's mind. There is alliteration, soft dying day, close bosom friend, stubble plains, wailful choir. So all these are repetition of the same consonant sounds. And if you carefully notice that all stanzas contain 11 lines each, and the rhyme scheme is ABAB, CDE, DCCE. There is a rhyming couplet in the 9th and 10th line. In each stanza, creating its musical effect and a sense of harmony. The rhyme scheme also varies slightly in each stanza, reflecting the changes and variation of autumn. You will find a number of metaphors like a patient watcher, a gleaner, a harvester, a friend of the sun. You will find simile, like, or as. And let me conclude. Sorry. In autumn, Keats has beautifully given picture of beauty and abundance of autumn. It is also a season of decay and change. The poet celebrates the present moment while being aware of its uh, transient nature and imperfection. He embraces both light and darkness, uh, he shows the beauty can be found even in the face of mortality. So the poem may be considered as a reflection of Keats's own life. As he was suffering from tuberculosis at that time and knew that he did not have much time left to live, the poem is an ode to autumn, but at the same time, it is also an ode to the poet himself. So, okay, thank you. Let's wait for the next session.